comes the, here comes the, y'all don't really want it like that. Yeah, here comes the.
Hello and welcome to the Drop Goal Podcast. Coming up on today's episode, we have the official launch of the Drop Goal Podcast, and we also talk straight rugby league. So, without wasting any more time, let's get straight into today's episode. Right, so, now we're a few games into the season, we've got to ask, what will the final standings look like? Of course, everyone knew that Saints would be the team to beat to kick off the 2010 Super League, but so far it seems like on the day this year, any team can beat the other, which is great, and we haven't seen that in recent years. So first, I would like to talk about the teams such as Castleford, Hull FC and Warrington. So these teams were always going to be, I don't know, top 5 teams, you could say the least. All of them spent a decent amount of money trying to get that best position possible. But so far, it seems a bit dodgy for 2 teams. Of course, we have Hull FC, which, of course, we've learned can only play half a bloody game and then turn into a championship side, Bradford Bulls, where they don't do absolutely anything. Sorry, Bradford fans. And we also have Warrington Wolves, which, are a shame because obviously I support them. But obviously we've seen they've got many players. They've paid a lot of money for those players, and so far are only looking like a top 5 team. Obviously, they've got Gareth Widdop, who obviously needs some time to gel with Austin, but of course, Austin isn't actually playing the best he could at the moment. So I do believe that Warrington could be playing better. Of course, we have the addition of Matty Ashton, who is now injured, who looked like a right cracker. But we also have Gelling, or Gelling, whatever you want to say. Tomato, I think that's the word, but who obviously have been stood down, but now I believe is available for selection. We also have Luther Burrell, but that's just the same old story, and so enough about that. I just think we should predict the table. So I think my table predictions will be, we have St Helens in first, obviously, because you can't really rule them out at this stage. They're going to win. Their squad is just unbelievably good. They have many of the best players, not maybe in the world, but definitely in Super League. So I put Saints in first. I reckon Saints will also win the grand final again, depending on how they go. In second, I'm going to put Wigan. They don't look too impressive for me this year, but they're just playing simple rugby, and a lot of the time that is what wins you games. So obviously very good. I don't think Wigan will win anything this year. You might get to the grand final, just because they always have bad luck in the Champions League, Challenge Cup. I just think they won't do the best. So that's my prediction for second. In third, in my opinion, you've got to put Castleford Tigers. Although Warrington did beat them, I believe their squad is just not great, but I think it's up there to just put the persistent performances in each week. So I put them in third, with the additions of that, whatever he's called, Richardson. My bad. I think he's great. In fourth, I'm going to say Warrington. Maybe being a bit biased, but I think with the addition of, Gareth Widdop, Matty Ashton, Anthony Gelling, Luther Burrell, Keenan Brand, all of them lot, I think when they gel together, they really could be a real team. In fifth, this might be a bit of a controversial one, but I'm going to say Leeds, just purely because they're obviously top of the table at the moment. I just think they've improved so much last year, and I think the way they're going, they really are going to be a team that, comes back as one of the greats. In sixth, we've got Hull FC, obviously. Nothing really to say about them, just lacking consistency. In seventh, very, very strange. I'm not sure about that. So I know my top 6, but apart from that, it could go either way. So now I think we'll speak about the championship. So I'm not sure about anyone, but I definitely don't know much about the championship. I feel it's a topic we do need to cover, because of course this year with Toronto being in the Super League, Championship is much more open, with many teams competing for the Super League promotion. Of course, most people will say the top spot will go to Toulouse or Feather Rovers, but in my opinion, I feel the real question this year for the Championship is who will be this year's dark horse. Of course, You know, there's many teams. Maybe Bradford could be up there, but I don't think so. Swinton could be up there. But this year, I think York City Knights are going to be a real dark horse. Push for that top spot, or at least the playoffs. And of course, I don't know much, like I said earlier, but I do think York will have a great push this year. So, yeah, that's my predictions. Okay, so moving on, we are going to look at the upcoming games from all of March up until, let's say, April 11th. So today, Thursday, 12th of March, we have Hull FC versus Warrington. This game will be a cracker as both teams are lacking consistency. And this one, I think, you know, if Hull beat Warrington, Price has got to go. He's just not pulling the strings anymore. I love the bloke. He's a nice guy. But, you know, that's how rugby works. Friday the 13th of March, we have Salford versus Wigan. This game could go either way. Salford, you know, not as strong as they were last year. They've pretty much got a whole new squad. Obviously, Jackson Hastings will be facing his old team as Salford as he plays for Wigan and most likely starting. This game, I've got to give it to Wigan. You know, I think they're just ahead of Salford at the moment. So on Saturday the 14th of March, we have Catalans versus Leeds. Now we have had confirmation that this game will be played behind closed doors due to the coronavirus. So this could be a game changer, in my opinion, as fans, you know, the game is nothing without fans. And, you know, Leeds usually take a great following wherever they go. And obviously they're getting better, so they attract more fans now. I'm not sure. This could go Catalans' way. Could go Leeds' way, you know. Catalans are going up with the signing of Falou. Leeds are just, you know, up there at the moment. So this is a really one I couldn't predict. Now, moving on to the game that I believe will be an absolute banger. You know, this one will prove something for both teams. We've got Castleford versus St Helens on Sunday the 15th of March. Now, obviously, Castleford did lose out by a drop goal to Warrington, which we might speak about later on in the podcast. But obviously, they are looking like a top team this year with the addition of Danny Richardson. He's looking like an absolute cracker. I think any team so far would have had him. Obviously, he's came from Saints, so, you know, there could be a bit of bittersweet there. But St Helens, obviously, title holders, Challenge Cup finalists, grand finalists, you know, grand final winners. You know, they've done a lot, haven't they? So, you know, you've got to give it to St Helens, I reckon, but it will be a great game. Moving on to Thursday, the 19th of March, we have Huddersfield Giants versus Hull KR, I do believe. It could be Hull FC. I'm pretty sure it is Hull FC, but, you know, I'm not too sure. That game will go Huddersfield's way, 100% in my opinion. I think, you know, as much as I hate to say it, because I do like Hull FC when they play Huddersfield, I just have a feeling. So, you know, enough about that. Friday the 20th, we have Leeds versus St Helens, which, well, what can we say about that? You know, it could go any way. St Helens, obviously, you know, they're doing a bit, yeah, they lost out to Huddersfield, but, you know, Leeds are up there, but St Helens, you can't rule them out. Also, we have Salford versus Castleford on that day. That'll go Castleford's way 100% in my opinion. So enough about that. Sunday the 22nd of March we have Hull KR versus Warrington. So yes, Huddersfield versus Hull FC it is. Warrington will win this game, no doubt about it. Hull KR are looking like relegation this year. Warrington, too good, I think. Although they do have that inconsistency, the lack of consistency, the lack of, you know, plays just to go forward, chase that ball. But, you know, Warrington are too good, I think. We also have Wigan versus Catalans on that day, which could go either way. Again, Wigan, you know, not doing too much this season, but play basic rugby. Catalans, with the addition of Falou, look like a cracking team. Then we've got Toronto versus Wakefield, which I'm not going to say anything about because no one can predict it. Wakefield are absolutely in the dumps, and Toronto look like they're just about getting on their feet with that nilling of Huddersfield in the Challenge Cup on the weekend. so I can't predict that one. Moving on to Thursday, the 26th of March, we have Castleford versus Leeds, so the Yorkshire Derby. That'll go anyway. I'm not going to say much about it. Yeah, that'll go anyway. Moving on to Friday, the 27th of March, Huddersfield versus Toronto. That can also go anyway, as Toronto have already beat Huddersfield this year. Then we've got Hull FC versus Salford. That can go anyway, but Hull might just pull it off. Then we've got Saints versus Hull KR, which is a no-brainer. St Helens are going to absolutely smash them. So, you know, good luck, Hull KR. Do what you can. Wakefield versus Wigan on that day. That could well be a game that surprises many people, but I do think Wigan will take it home. Then we've got Warrington versus Catalans at home at the HJ. The reason why I'm mentioning that it's at home is recent years, Catalans Way has been a doghouse for Warrington. So, you know, it could change things playing at home. I can't predict it, obviously, because we're not that far into the season yet. But it could go either way. That's it for March. I'm not going to predict April as we're too far away. So that's my predictions. I hope they come right. And all the ones that come right, you know, I hope I just get that blessing, that feeling like, go on, that I've gotten right. But thanks for listening. That was my predictions of the games. We're going to move on shortly, but it's time for another cut.
Goes back, Austin is there as well. It comes to Blake Austin. Here is the chance. Here it is. There he is, back in the pocket. Straight between the uprights.
Well, what can I say? Last week gave us some absolute cracking drop goals. 2 were my favourite. 2 of them, these 2, are the best drop goals I've ever seen. Not because they were class, just because it really edged the game on that bit more. No one knew who was going to win until the last. So, first of all, we'll speak about the one I do not know as much about, due to the fact I wasn't there, obviously. But, you know, let's get into it. So, obviously, this was the Hull FC versus Wakefield game. Final score was Wakefield 26, Hull FC 27. So, coming into the game, Hull FC had a bit of pressure on them, considering the money they'd spent and the inconsistency once again going into the 2020 campaign. Everyone knew that Redders was under a bit of pressure, so no one knew how the game could have gone. But obviously, the final score was Hull FC 27, Wakefield Trinity 26. Right then. So going into the game, Hull must have been confident, but we'll skip towards the end and here's what happened. Wakefield clawed their way back from a half-time lead as Hull as they led 20-6 at the break. We came towards the end and it was a cracking drop goal from Mike? Bloody hell. Mark Sneed, I believe. He scored the golden point drop goal for Hull FC, which gave them the vital 2 points that they needed. Right, I'm sorry about that. Obviously, I didn't know too much about it, but now we're going to the one that I know the most about, as I was there. The Warrington versus Castleford Tigers game. Oh my God, what a day. I was there with my family and oh my God, I was screaming, shouting, lost my voice afterwards. Well, oh my God, let's speak about it. Warrington, you know, got off to a cracking start with that amazing Tommy Lynham try, but Castleford pulled their way back as a penalty try as Keenan Brand fouled the Cas player. I'm not too sure who it was, so forgive me, but you know, that was a penalty try. Anyway, so we got towards the end. The score was 8-8 after Warrington Steffens Ratford. What am I? Bloody hell. Warrington's Stephen Ratford scored a penalty to equalise it. So, we got on to the final 10 minutes. And oh my God, Cas fans were shivering. Warrington fans were trembling. Oh, it was a night. Bloody hell, we had a missed drop goal from bloody everyone. Jake Truman missed, Danny Richardson missed, Blake Austin missed, Gareth Widdop missed. But at the end of the day, it was all lined up after a perfect Joe Philbin run. Bloody hell, the ball went back to Austin. I was pooing myself, I thought we were going to miss it again. Austin boots it right between the sticks. The Wire have scored. What a night. Bloody hell, the crowd, only 9,000, which was a bit poor, but oh my god, the crowd was like a bloody 14,000 game. Oh my god, what a night. It was an absolute cracker. So, they were the 2 drop goals. Let me know in the YouTube comments or message me on Instagram at the Drop Goal Podcast what you thought about the drop goals and what was your favourite. That was my drop goals. You know, obviously that's all about the podcast, and we obviously hope that there's more to come in the coming weeks. But, you know, if you ask me, I'm obviously young, so I've not seen many games, but oh my god, they were my 2 best ever drop goals I've ever seen. Not because, like I said before, not because they were worse, not because they were bloody class, whatever, you know, not because they were bloody first try, you know. Bloody getting me words mixed up now just speaking about it. It was such an emotional night for me at Warrington, and of course it must have been for those Hull FC fans at Wakefield. You know, they were just so intense. Both teams really needed those 2 points. You know, they're both going on an inconsistent run after Warrington's 36-0 loss against Leeds. Oh my god, they really needed something. You know, Price would have been down the drain if we had lost that. You know, obviously Castle are a top team this year, but Warrington definitely have the depth. They definitely have the class to absolutely smash Castleford on the day. And I'm not over-exaggerating. I'm not being biased. We could absolutely smash them. We have Ben Murdoch-Masila, bloody Blake Austin, Gareth Widdop, Josh Charnley, bloody hell. Any bloody other team, yeah, with that class would absolutely be undefeatable in Super League. And that's what I don't get. And that is why alarm bells must be ringing inside Steve Price's head. So they were my drop goal highlights of last week.
As the coronavirus spreads across the world with nearly 110,000 cases reported in more than 100 countries, the World Health Organization says the pandemic threat has become very real.
Well then, what can I say? The last talk on our podcast, as you could have guessed, is about the coronavirus. Now, you know, as much as it is to do with me, as much as it isn't, things like this happen. It's a virus. We just gotta calm down. Stop stocking up on bog roll. What are you gonna eat? If everything's bloody going, yeah, and everyone's got to stay indoors, what are you gonna eat if all you've supplied on is bloody bog roll? Right, you know, calm down. Things like this happen. It'll soon pass. Like, not to comment, not to say anything bad. Obviously, Ebola is a bad disease, but the same thing happened with that. There was a big outbreak, but, you know, with a couple of months, you know, it all died down, and now it's not as bad as it once was. But the real talk is, what will it do to the Super League? Now, we all already know, you know, first game to be played behind closed doors in Rugby League is, of course, to my knowledge, Leeds versus Catalan Dragons. Now, like I said before, this could affect the game. You know, Leeds always take a good following. You know, Catalan not so much because they're based in France. So, you know, could be a mix and match. But I think it is really bad timing for Super League. You know, all the marketing that is trying to go into Super League to get this game, Rugby League, up there with rugby union, up there with football or soccer, whatever you call it, up there with American football. We've got to make that chance. We've got to make that step. We've got to take the chance to get there. And we were taking the chance, yeah, with new marketing strategies, everything in Rugby League. This year, last year, and now all of a sudden, you know, Super League's just kicked off. Now we've got confirmation of this new virus going around across the world, killing people. I know it's sad to hear, you know, infecting many people, and overall just, you know, ruining our sport and everyone's lives. So what do I think of the situation? Well, I do believe some games should be postponed. Like, you know, maybe the Saints versus Cass Tigers game. That is a very big game, you know. Two of the top teams in the competition this year going forward are playing against each other. Cass will have a good following. Saints always have a good following. You know, it'll be a great game for the fans, but it's too much of a risk, isn't it? Too many people in the same area. If one person ends up getting it, bloody hell, hundreds of people there, thousands of people could get it. So I think we do need to take the right steps and maybe postpone games, maybe even play them behind closed doors, yeah. But overall, we need to take the right steps, you know. Got to do you know, do what the government tells us, do what the health organisations tell us to. Wash our hands, be healthy, just pray for the best, and let's just hope that, you know, our sport doesn't go down the dumps with this. Of course, it most likely won't, and I'm over-exaggerating, but, you know, you've always got to think about the what-ifs. What if this coronavirus happens? You know, as much as I don't like to say it like this, what happens if rugby players do die from this coronavirus? I don't like saying it, but it could happen. It's very unlikely, but it could. What could happen to the game? It's not just Rugby League that's affected. The Six Nations will be affected. Champions League football will be affected. Europa League football will be affected. All these sports will be affected by this virus. And it's just really sad to hear, because realistically, sport is nothing without our fans. Now, thank you for listening to the podcast. Before we end, I would just like to say a good big thank you for everyone who tuned in to the first episode of the Drop Goal podcast. Hopefully there's more to come in the future with big guests, hopefully starring on the podcast. And nothing much more to say from me, apart from stay healthy, rugby league fans, you know. What can I say? You know, just stay healthy, you know, do what needs to be done. And overall, we've just got to stick together in these tough times. And our sport, rugby league, will not be torn apart by this virus. Now, thank you very much for listening. See you in the next one. Not got much to say apart from howdy, partners.